Hello viewer, welcome to Worldview, a program that keeps you updated with trending developments the world over. My name is Emedion James, reaching you live from Uyo. Let's take a look at some of the major headlines making the world today. Malaysia Prime Minister says Thailand and Cambodia agree to cease fire. Trump and Sturmer to meet in Scotland with trade and Gaza on agenda. 14 died. Military says as Israel allows partial military pause for aid. Details of the stories and more in just a moment. Worldview today from the Asian Pacific region, where the leaders of Thailand and Cambodia have agreed to an immediate and unconditional ceasefire to end the border clashes, Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim said today, following talks in Malaysia between the two Southeast Asian neighbors. Elsewhere, a Thai police official said a gunman killed 5 people at a market in Thailand's capital, Bangkok, today, attacking security guards and a merchant before fatally turning the gun on himself. The commander-in-chief of the Metropolitan Police Bureau said that the gunman initially killed 3 security guards and then a 4th with whom he had a personal quarrel, Sim Bonsam. In a video footage shared by police, a suspect in a white hat and a backpack slung on his chest is seen walking through a parking lot at the Core market. Meanwhile, Duang Napa Igirung Siri, aged 38, was at the market to buy groceries with her boyfriend and sister, was about to leave when she heard the shot ringing out. In India, India's defense minister said today that New Delhi had ended its military conflict with Pakistan in May as it had met all its objectives and had not responded to the pressure, rejecting U.S. President Donald Trump's claims that he brokered the truce. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh was speaking at the opening of a discussion in the parliament on the April 22nd attack on Hindu tourists in India, Kashmir, in which 26 men were killed. The attack led to a fierce 4-day military conflict with Pakistan in May, the worst between the nuclear-armed neighbors in nearly 3 decades. Still in India, according to a post by the Army on X, the Indian Army said today that it had killed 3 men after an intense firefight in Indian Kashmir. Reports say the men were suspected to be behind the April 22nd attack on Hindu tourists in India, Kashmir that sparked a deadly military conflict with neighbor Pakistan. Let's move now to the White House, where U.S. President Donald Trump will host British Prime Minister Keir Starmer at his golf resort in Western Scotland today for talks ranging from their recent bilateral trade deal to the worsening hunger crisis in Gaza, the two governments said. Trump, riding high after announcing a huge trade agreement with the European Union late on Sunday, said he expected Starmer would also be pleased. On trade matters, The U.S. struck a framework trade agreement with the European Union on Sunday, imposing a 15% import tariff on most EU goods off the threatened rate and averting a bigger trade war between the two allies that accounts for almost a third of global trade. U.S. President Donald Trump and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced a deal at Trump's luxury golf course in Western Scotland after an hour-long meeting that pushed the hard-fought deal over the line. According to Trump, he told reporters that he thinks this is the biggest deal ever made. He also lauded EU plans to invest some $600 billion in the United States and dramatically increase its purchases of U.S. energy and military equipment. Also, Trump said the deal, which tops a $550 billion deal signed with Japan last week, would expand ties between the transatlantic powers after years of what he called unfair treatment of U.S. exporters. Still on trade matters, top U.S. and Chinese economic officials will resume talks in Stockholm today to try to tackle long-standing economic dispute at the center of the trade war between the world's top two economies, aiming to extend a truce by 3 months and keeping sharply higher tariff at bay. The negotiations could begin this afternoon local time at Rosenbad, the Swedish Prime Minister's office in central Stockholm. A source familiar with the planning of the talks said. Chinese and U.S. national flags were being raised at the building on Monday morning. China is facing an August 12 deadline to reach a durable tariff agreement with President Donald Trump's administration after Beijing and Washington reached preliminary deals in May and June to end weeks of escalating tit-for-tat tariffs and a cutoff of rare earth minerals. Without an agreement, global supply chains would face renewed turmoil from U.S. duties snapping back to triple-digit levels that would amount to a bilateral trade embargo. Let's move now to the Middle East, where the Hamas-run health ministry says another 14 people have died of malnutrition in Gaza in the past 24 hours. The deaths were announced as Israel pauses military operations in parts of Gaza for 10 hours per day, starting on Sunday to allow more aid to be distributed. Israel says more than 120 trucks of aid were delivered by the UN and others yesterday, and images showed more lorries are entering Gaza today. The UN has welcomed the move, but says it needs to be sustained. Aid Chief Tom Fletcher told newsmen that the next few days are make or break, with the military forces expected to last a week or so. He also added that some aid were also airdropped into Gaza the weekend, but it was a tiny fraction of Gazans' daily needs. Israel's restrict entry of newsmen and other international journalists into Gaza, making it difficult to verify the situation on the ground. In the meantime, pro-Palestinian group Freedom Flotilla Coalition, FFC, says Israeli troops have boarded a boat that was trying to bring food aid to the Gaza Strip by sea. He said the Handala vessels was intercepted in international waters. Video footage purportedly showed activists on board with their hands up as several armed soldiers took control of the vessel. The Israeli Foreign Ministry said the country's navy stopped the boat from illegally entering the maritime zone of the coast of Gaza and breaking the blockade there. It added that the ship is safely making its way to the shores of Israel and that all passengers are safe. Meanwhile, the FFC said Handala's crew of 19 activists and 2 journalists from various countries, including Australia, France, the UK and US, had been kidnapped by Israeli soldiers. This group also posted a number of videos with crew members urging people around the world to put pressure on their respective government to sanction Israel. The boat was carrying baby formula to Gaza, one of the FFC activists said in a post on social media. Still in Gaza, Israel announced a halt in military operations for 10 hours a day in parts of Gaza and in new aid corridors as Jordan and the United Arab Emirates airdropped supplies into the enclave. Images of starving Palestinians have alarmed the world. Israel has been facing growing international criticism, which the government rejects over the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. An indirect ceasefire talks in Doha between Israel and the Palestinian militant group Hamas have broken off with no deal in sight. US President Donald Trump, on a visit to Scotland, said Israel would have to make a decision on its next step in Gaza. He also said he did not know what would happen after the collapse of ceasefire and hostage release negotiations with Hamas. In a related development, dozens of ministers will gather at the United Nations today for a delayed conference to work towards a two-state solution between Israel and Palestinians, but the US and Israel are boycotting the event. The 193-member UN General Assembly decided in September last year that such a conference could be held in 2025. Hosted by France and Saudi Arabia, the conference was postponed in June after Israel attacked Iran. The conference aims to lay out the parameters for a roadmap to a Palestinian state while ensuring Israel's security is safe. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot told Newsman that he will also use the conference this week to push other countries to join France in recognizing a Palestinian state. France intends to recognize a Palestinian state in September at the annual gathering of world leaders at the United Nations General Assembly, President Emmanuel Macron said last week. Moving down to Iran, where the UN nuclear watchdog will make a visit to Iran within the next 2 weeks, Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Esmaili Bahaid said today, a few days after the watchdog's director said Tehran was ready to restart technical conversations. Bahaid added that a matter regarding the future of Iran's cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency parliamentary bill restricting such cooperation. The bill, which has now become law, stimulates that any future inspection of Iran's nuclear sites by the IAEA needs approval by Tehran's Supreme National Security Council. The IAEA has said it must be allowed to resume inspections after Israeli and US airstrikes last month that aimed to destroy Iran's nuclear program and deny it the capacity to build a nuclear weapon. Iran has always denied seeking nuclear weapons and says its program is strictly peaceful. We'll go on a short break right now. After the break, we'll take a look at the African nation, particularly in Ghana, where Ghana deploys soldiers to quell national chieftaincy disputes. Do stay joined to us for these and many more right after this breather. Many thanks for staying tuned. This is Worldview on Spectrum TV. Let's turn the spotlight to Africa now, where a spokesperson for President John Dramani Mahama said Ghana has deployed more soldiers to a northeastern region where a long-running conflict over chieftaincy has fueled recent violence, including attacks on schools. The Bako chieftaincy conflict, which goes back decades, has remained one of Ghana's most protracted ethnic flashpoints, often resulting in violent clashes and loss of lives. It is rooted in a dispute between the Mbapusi and Kusasi ethnic groups over who can appoint a chief for the area. Mediation efforts by Otumfu Oshin Tutu II, known as the Asante Henan, Ghana's most reverend traditional ruler, has almost brought finality to the conflict, but recent killings have necessitated drastic actions to control it. Presidential spokesperson Felix Kwaki Ofonsu said in a statement on Sunday. Violence in the area last week included the killing of a Kusasi chief as well as 3 high school students by gunmen who stormed their campuses, according to local media report. Still in Africa, Islamic State-backed rebels killed 38 people on Sunday in an attack on a church in eastern Congo, a city official said. Reports say that the assault in Komanda, a Democratic Republic of Congo, ADF rebels wielding guns and machetes. Jean Kato, an official in the city administration, said worshippers were taking part in a night mass when the rebels stormed the church in the early hours of Sunday morning. 38 people were killed, 15 injured, and several others were still missing, officials added. Christopher Mungyangdaru, a human rights activist present at the scene in Komanda, said shots were heard overnight, but people at first thought it was thieves. Yes. Away from that, Google has admitted its earthquake early warning system failed to accurately alert people during Turkey's deadly quake of 2023. 10 million people within 98 miles of the epicenter could have been sent Google's highest level alert, giving up to 35 seconds of warning to find safety. Instead, only 469 take action warnings were sent out for the first 7.8 magnitude quake. Google told newsmen half a million people were sent a lower level warning, which is designed for light shaking and does not alert users in the same prominent way. The tech giant previously told newsmen the system had performed well after an investigation in 2023. The alert system is available in just under 100 countries and is described by Google as a global safety net, often operating in countries with no other warning system. Google's system, named Android Earthquake Alert, is run by a Silicon Valley firm, not individual countries. In a related development, Greece continued to battle major wildfires across the country amid a severe heat wave, but firefighters have brought many outbreaks under control. Extreme heat persisted with temperatures reaching 42.4 Celsius in central Greece on Sunday. Firefighters were working on 5 major fire fronts late on Sunday in the Peloponnese area west of Athens, as well as on the island of Eva, Kythera, and Creta. Meanwhile, neighboring Turkey has recorded its highest ever temperature as fires rage in several regions. Turkey's Forestry Minister Ibrahim Gökmakli said on Sunday that areas affected by fires were going through risky times and that he thought it would be several days before they were fully contained. On Saturday, Turkey's Environment Ministry said meteorologists had recorded a reading of 50.5 Celsius in the southeastern city of Silipi, surpassing the previous heat record of 49.5 Celsius. Some local authorities have announced restrictions on water consumptions, including for the resort of Sisme on Turkey's west coast. Lastly, on Worldview today, at least 11 people were injured in a stabbing at a Walmart store in mid-western state of Michigan on Saturday, with police saying it appeared to be a random attack. A 42-year-old male suspect was in custody. Grand Traverse County Sheriff Michelle Sher told a press conference. Meanwhile, 6 victims were in critical condition and 5 in serious condition, Muson Healthcare said in a statement. And with that, we wrap up our package for you on Worldview today. Do ensure to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. I am Emedion James, reaching you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, and you've been watching Worldview on Spectrum TV. Do enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for watching.